Welcome to portal number 3, School Boundary Review Criteria. My name is Frederick Thibault, Senior Manager of Planning Services, and I'll be your host. In this portal, we review the 6 boundary review criteria the board uses to create or alter school boundaries. You will learn additional information on each of the criteria, as well as how they apply in the context of the Town of Milton's secondary school accommodation picture. As we discussed in portal number 1, when we develop school boundaries, the School Boundary Review Committee and staff review each option in comparison to the 6 criteria, which are listed below. Beginning with the optimization of existing school facilities, when we're reviewing potential options, we want to ensure that we minimize the amount of empty spaces in certain schools and overutilization or the use of portables in other schools. In short, we want to balance enrollment throughout all the facilities that are involved. In the context of the town of Milton, both the 2 existing and potential new secondary schools are all expected to operate well above their overall capacities, which brings us to minimizing the use of classrooms, or portable classrooms. Where possible, we always want to make sure that we're relying more on bricks and mortar as opposed to the introduction of portables. However, in the context of the town of Milton, given the amount of high growth, portables are sometimes a reality. Therefore, when we're looking at potential options and enrollment forecasts, we want to make sure that the use of portable is distributed equally amongst all the facilities that are affected, as best as possible, while still minimizing the amount of empty classroom spaces. We also want to ensure that we avoid ever reaching the maximum number of portables on site. The third criteria is to minimize school boundary adjustments. Acknowledging that boundary reviews can sometimes be disruptive to a community, we want to ensure that the number of times that we create changes or new boundaries is minimized to once every 5 years. Now, given the fact that Milton is a high growth area where new schools are often introduced and opened, this is not always something that's possible to achieve. Therefore, in order to advise communities well in advance of this happening, we are now identifying what we call holding areas, which are areas that are eventually going to be redirected to a new school once that school opens. We also try to ensure that we minimize the amount of impacts that are happening in a recurring basis to existing and established communities. The fourth criteria is to optimize school transportation. In short, what we try to achieve is to maximize the number of walkers within a school's boundary so as to avoid overutilizing school transportation, i.e. minimize the number of buses that are required. In creating these walkable communities, we create a greater sense of neighborhood as well as provide additional advantages for students that partake in after-school activities, which make it easier for them to reach their home location after their activities are completed. The fifth criteria is to ensure school populations are sustainably sized. So what we're speaking to here is the number of students that are attributed to a school. By ensuring that it's sustainably sized in the context of the secondary schools, is the larger the school population in terms of enrollment, the more programming that will be available. In the context of the town of Milton, we're less concerned because enrollment is going to be very sustainable and very healthy over the long term. We typically try to achieve a school population of 1,000 or more, which will be more than attainable in these circumstances. Lastly, our final criteria is to align school boundaries to parish boundaries. So where possible, we always try to align our school boundaries to the parish boundaries. And in the context of the town of Milton, the parish boundary essentially divides the town of Milton by Dairy Road, creating a north and south boundary. In the options that we've reviewed, we've compared the boundaries of our schools as well as the parish and tried to align them as best we could. That concludes portal number 3, School Boundary Review Criteria. Thank you for your attention, and please proceed to portal number 4, the School Boundary Review Committee's preferred ultimate option.